In 2021, one person was killed by a gun in Japan. Japan has about 123 million people, and a gun death rate so low, it barely registers as a statistic. In 2023, Japan's National Police Agency, the NPA, recorded just 9 shooting incidents nationwide. That same year in the United States, they recorded nearly 18,000 gun homicides. The population difference doesn't even come close to explaining that gap. This episode isn't just about Japan's approach to guns. It's about how this system is built, laws, culture, enforcement, and why it all works together. I'm Jeff Richards, and this is Japan Today Spotlight. Let's start with the thing that almost everybody gets wrong. Guns are not illegal in Japan. Civilians can own firearms. Japan has fewer than 90,000 licensed firearm permit holders and under 180,000 licensed firearms. Hunters use shotguns. Sport shooters compete at licensed ranges. Air rifles are permitted. What's banned completely, with no civilian exceptions, is the handgun. You cannot own a pistol in Japan. There is no permit available, no process to follow. Handguns are off of the table for civilians. So the picture isn't Japan has banned guns. The picture is Japan permits a narrow category of firearms under some of the most demanding licensing conditions in the world. That distinction matters. What makes Japan's system work isn't prohibition, it's the process. All right, so what does it actually take to legally own a shotgun in Japan? Step 1, you attend a day-long class held periodically and overseen by police, and you pay for it then and there. You take a written exam that same day. Step 2, you go to a licensed shooting range and demonstrate your proficiency. You need to score at least 95% on the shooting range test to pass. Step 3, you undergo a mental health evaluation at a hospital and receive a certificate that confirms you are mentally fit and not dependent on drugs, prescription or otherwise. Step 4, you submit to a drug test. Step 5, police run a background check, and this isn't your normal routine database query. Officers may interview family members and sometimes neighbors or even co-workers. They want to know who you are and whether anyone has concerns. Step 6, police inspect your home to confirm that you have proper storage, an approved gun safe, and a separate locked container for ammunition. Step 7, you buy your gun, but only through a registered dealer and with every single transaction recorded. Every time you buy ammunition, every bullet, everything is written down. This is not a purchase, it's a screening process. And it doesn't stop at the point of sale. So buying the gun is just the beginning of the relationship between a gun owner and the state. Police conduct regular inspections. At the 3-year mark, the owner must retake the class and pass a renewal exam. Every time you buy ammunition, you have to present your license. That purchase is logged. You also keep your own records, how much you bought and when you used it. If you move, you notify the police. If you die, the weapon does not pass to an heir. It is returned to the police or a licensed dealer. This is where Japan's system differs most from other countries, even ones with strict licensing. It doesn't just regulate who can acquire a firearm, it regulates ongoing possession continuously. How tightly wound is the system? In 2025, we reported on Japan Today that police issued a nationwide warning after discovering that a toy gun, available as a crane game prize, posed a potential modification risk. Officers recovered 450 of them. That's the level of scrutiny we're talking about. Laws alone don't explain this. Plenty of countries have strict laws about guns that don't work. Japan's gun statistics are not just a product of legislation. They are also a product of a society whose laws they operate in. One factor is risk aversion. A gun at home is seen as a risk, a liability, not protection. A second factor is social accountability. Community visibility is relatively high. And the Koban system, those small neighborhood police boxes, keeps police embedded into neighborhoods. Gun ownership is not widely accepted, and it tends to draw scrutiny. A third factor is low tolerance for confrontation. There is a strong emphasis on not creating problems for others here. Avoidance and de-escalation are the default modes here. None of this means that Japan is free of conflict. It means that the cost of using a gun, legally, socially, and personally, is extraordinarily high. Japan does have organized crime. Groups like the Yakuza have historically had access to firearms, many of them sourced from overseas. But even that picture has changed. In 2002, there were 158 shootings in Japan. By 2023, there were 9. Gun use, even within organized crime, has sharply declined. Why? Because guns are difficult to obtain, they're heavily tracked, and they carry severe penalties. Using a firearm in a crime carries consequences serious enough to end any chance of life outside of prison. Prosecutors often treat it as attempted murder the moment a gun is discharged. Violence hasn't disappeared. It's adapted. More common forms of violent crime involve knives, arson, and improvised weapons. The 2022 assassination of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was a rare but stark example. The weapon used was homemade. Overall crime in Japan has been rising since 2022, theft, fraud, and sexual offenses. But gun crime hasn't followed that trend. The two stories are separate, and it's a reminder that low gun violence doesn't mean a crime-free society. Japan's gun laws didn't eliminate that violence. They pushed it towards methods that are harder to scale and less efficient at killing at a distance. That still matters. No system is without trade-offs. Japan treats gun ownership as a privilege. Police have ongoing access to gun owners and their storage. The state can revoke it at any time. In rural areas, response times can be slow. If something does go wrong, you rely on the police. For those who see firearm ownership as a form of individual liberty, this system, the system here, is fundamentally incompatible with that view. And it depends on conditions that are not easy to replicate. Relatively high trust in law enforcement, low corruption, and a broad social consensus that guns do not make people safer. You can respect the outcome, but don't assume that this playbook will automatically work somewhere else. But could it? This is the question that always comes up. The honest answer is no. At least not in the same form. Other countries have reduced gun violence through different paths, often after major events. Japan's approach was slower and more layered, shaped over decades, building on earlier restrictions and reinforced through post-war law. Strict laws, continuous oversight, social norms, geography that limits smuggling, and a police structure embedded into communities. These elements all reinforce each other. Remove one, and the system weakens. The question worth sitting with isn't why Japan has so few gun deaths. It's what would need to be true elsewhere for any version of this to work. What do you think about Japan's gun crime and gun laws? Let me know in the comments. From the Japan Today newsroom in Tokyo, I'm Jeff Richards. See me next time.